Hi everyone, Flaming Footy here and welcome back to a new video on the channel. And today guys, here we are to continue my AFL 2023 3-game match reviews. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the first three games from round 18. Those games are Sydney vs Western Bulldogs, Melbourne vs Brisbane and Collingwood vs Fremantle. So the first game on Thursday night was a cracking contest between Sydney and the Western Bulldogs at the SCG. A huge game here. The Western Bulldogs had a chance to jump in or at least attack the top four and failed to do so for, probably the fourth time this year, where they've had a genuine opportunity, genuine chance at the top four against a genuine opponent, a genuine 50-50 game, and the fourth time this year they've failed to make a jump for the top four, and they'd be in the top four right now if they had taken their chances. They had chance against the Suns, against Port Adelaide, against Geelong, and now against Sydney, and they've, unfortunately enough for them, butchered all of them. But look, they did go down by 2 points, so it was a really good game of footy though. 11-12, 78 Sydney to 11-10, 76 Western Bulldogs. And look, the Dogs, they were started off the game really well, must admit. 2 goals to 5 in the first term. The Dogs started off really well. Second quarter let them down though. 4 goals to Sydney, 1 for the Dogs. Sydney led at half time. In the third quarter, the Dogs, after starting it off poorly, came back to lead at 3-quarter time. And then the last quarter was a seesawing back and forth contest. 2 goals for the Dogs, 3 for Sydney, and in the end doing enough to win the game. Plenty of behinds in that last quarter though between the two teams. AFL Fantasy, 142 for Bontempelli, 140 for English, 126 for Gordon, 118 for Liberatore, 108 for Richards, 103 for Florent. Goals behinds, 4 goals for Papley, the birthday boy. How good was he? 3 goals for Norton, 2 for Franklin, 2 for Bontempelli and Florent. Disposals, 33 for Trelaw, 31 for Bontempelli, Liberatore, 30 for Gordon. Marks, 11 for Richards, 8 for Cunningham and Williams. Tackles, 10 for Rowbottom, 8 for Amadi, Heaney, Wicks and Bontempelli. Team stats now. Well, the Dogs won inside 50s by +7, but again, failed to put more on the scoreboard. They smashed Sydney everywhere as well. Hit out, smashed them. 34-50. I think we forgot to do hit outs. Yeah, we did forget to do hit outs. 60 for English, 25 for McLean, 7 for Darcy, 6 for Amadi, 3 for McDonald, 1 for Norton. But anyway, though, back to the hit outs. They smashed them there anyway. Clearances 34-52. The Dogs won 8-15 centre clearance. And when Sydney do lose out of the middle, they normally do lose the game. But their pressure was good though. 26-37 stoppage clearances. The Dogs won contested and uncontested footy as well. So building up a game on the stats side, which would win you the game. Sydney took more marks inside. The Dogs did lead for most of the game though, but look, pressure, this is what it came down to. 90-62 tackles, 90 tackles in a game for Sydney, and 22-9 tackles inside their attacking 50. Brilliantly done there from Sydney, laying the pressure in their attacking 50 to keep it in their 50. Really good game of footy here, and in the end, Sydney keep their slim finals hopes alive with a 2-point win. One of the games of the year on Friday night between Melbourne and Brisbane at the MCG. Brisbane still cannot win at the MCG. It was a 1-point win to Melbourne, 16-9-105 to 16-8-104. Melbourne win by 1 point in the end. One of the games of the year for sure. What a cracking contest it was. And Melbourne started off the game really well, kicked the first 4 goals of the game. And then, 6 goals to 3 in the opening term. Brisbane came back in the second and third quarters. Those are their best quarters. The second and third quarters is where Brisbane got off and rolling. That was the quarter where they were better. It turned into a little bit of a shootout towards the end of the third quarter. Final quarter, Brisbane kicked 1 goal and Melbourne kicked 4, and it's enough to get them over the line in the end. Huge win this for Melbourne. It is a huge win in the context of their year. Brisbane, their top 2 hopes are fading, despite Collingwood and Port Adelaide both having obviously not the easiest of run homes. Collingwood do have a tougher one. Brisbane still do play plenty of decent sides though in their run home. But yeah, top 2 is looking a little bit out of reach, but top 4 they should finish. And Melbourne, well, their top 4 hopes huge. This is just huge. This really does help them here this Friday night result. AFL Fantasy, Max Gawn, 162 fantasy. Huge number for him there. 115 for Petrarca, 108 for Viney, 104 for McCluggage. Goals behinds, 4 goals for Petrarca. He's a gun forward. He did play a bit of midfield, a bit of forward, but he's got to be in the forward line. He's just so good when he's on. 3 goals for Pickett, who had a good game. 3 goals for Gunston, 2 for Danaher, Melks from Cameron. Bailey McCarthy as well. Disposals, 29 for Brayshaw, 29 for Gawn, 26 for Petrarca and Hunter, 25 for Viney. Marks now, 10 for Melks from McCluggage and Andrews, 9 for Starcevic. Tackles, 8 for Viney, 7 for Gawn. We'll go to hitouts now, 39 for Gawn, 33 for McInerney, 7 for Van Rooyen, 1 for Ben Brown and 1 for Dannahurst. They did trial the Van Rooyen and Max Gawn combination in the ruck. Whether it worked or not will definitely be up to them. But look, Grundy did get dropped to the VFL to work on his game. +5 inside 50s for Brisbane. Melbourne won in clearance though, 45-32, 17-12, 28-20 stoppage clearances, 17-12 centre clearances. And they won the hit house as well. So it just goes to show that they don't need Petrarca in there all the time to still win those numbers. They still uncontested footy as well. Brisbane did take more marks and marks inside 50. But yeah, they led for a little bit longer, did Brisbane as well. But in the end, this was such a good game. And Melbourne in the end won by 1 point. Now to the first game, a little bit earlier today, Collingwood versus Freo at the MCG, and Collingwood did what they had to do in the end. It wasn't anything very special at all, but it was just a typical Collingwood performance, 18-5, 113, Freo at 10-7, 67. They won by 46 points in the end, and brilliant second quarter. Aside from that, Collingwood weren't great. Freo did actually really match Collingwood in every term, but the second quarter. 4 goals to 1 opening term, Collingwood with a much better sides, Freo just hanging in there. But yeah, second quarter, that's where they won the game. And Freo probably would have been in for the upset hadn't it been of that second quarter. They kicked 10 goals. Yes, 10 goals to 2. Game was over at half time. Game was well and truly over there. 10 goals. It was just such a good Collingwood burst. They just burst away in that second term, and just goes to show how quickly how quickly any side can burst away, especially these top quality sides though. 10 goals in that quarter. Only 1 goal in the third term for Collingwood, and it was 2 for Freo, and then the final term 2 more to 3. So they did lose the second half, but aside from that though, they did are definitely managing their players ahead of next week's big clash, and they're still sitting pretty comfortably on top of the ladder anyway. But yeah, that second quarter is definitely what built them. That's what won them the game. Nick Dacos, 132 fantasy, 125 for Adams, 120 for Josh Dacos, 115 for Neil Erasmus, 110 for Brayshaw, 102 for Crispin O'Meara, 101 for Maynard. Goals behinds, 4 goals for Elliott, 3 for Johnson and Tracy, 2 for Adams, Jackson, McStay and Sturt. Disposals now 36 for Nick Dacos, 31 for Josh Dacos, so it's just a Dacos show. 30 for O'Meara and Brayshaw, 26 for DeGoey. Marks, 8 for Noble, 8 for DeGoey, Moore and Corey Wagner. Tackles, 10 for Erasmus, 9 for Adams, Lipinski, 8 for Maynard. Hit out, 32 for Cox, 24 for Darcy, 22 for Jackson, 8 for Frampton, 5 for Tracy, 2 for McStay. Team stats now where it was 53-35 inside 50. So Collingwood didn't go in there a ton of times, but still managed to get the win there relatively comfortably, limiting Freo to 35 entries. Clearances, 16-13 centre clearances. The Pies won that, 24-33 stoppage clearances though. The Dockers won that. They won uncontested footy, did the Pies. They won marks, 96-65, 15-12 marks inside 50, 16-5 contested marks, smashing them there. They pretty much led for the whole game, and 12-8 tackles inside 50. But look, again, it wasn't a amazing, brilliant, overpowering, smashing performance, but built off the back of that second quarter, it was just a game where they did what they needed to do and walked away with those 4 points. Alright, so now to the second Saturday afternoon game. It was Gold Coast and St Kilda, which we're not reviewing this one, but Gold Coast won by 26 in the end. That'll be in tomorrow's 3-game match reviews, as will Carlton and Port Adelaide. Carlton are up by 31 at the moment. Port Adelaide, they've got their backs against the walls. Carlton have put themselves in a really good attacking position to win the game from here, and Port Adelaide won, 8 in a row at Marvel and 14 in a row this year. So a couple of streaks will be broken should they lose this game. But look, huge second half coming up from Marvel Stadium, that one. Now, 2 big Saturday night games. Really good fixturing here from the AFL. You want the good games on at prime time, and 2 absolute belters here. Geelong and Essendon, huge game tonight at GMHBA Stadium. That's probably going to decide look, if Essendon get the win here, they're probably all but in the 8. They're definitely in the 8 and should stay there should they win this game. And then Adelaide and the Giants is another huge game, and the winner, especially depending on the Cats result, could temporarily sit inside the top 8 as well. So huge game there as well. Sunday's footy action, it's not an amazing day of footy. It's not looking too great, but still a couple of really important games and interesting games. North Melbourne and Hawthorn, it'll be probably more the interesting rather than the important for this one. And then, West Coast and Richmond still does, of course, for Richmond hold a lot on the line as the final game of the round. We'll go to the ladder now. Collingwood currently sit on top, and what will that do for Port? Well, they'll lose a bit of percentage, and it'll keep Collingwood clear top now. It should be huge for their year. Of course, these two sides do meet next week in a huge battle at the Adelaide Oval on the Saturday night. Brisbane now into third, of course. Well, they've been in third, and Melbourne closing the gap in fourth. Now, that St Kilda loss and the Dogs loss is huge, because this can be Essendon's chance to make a run for the top four, first of all, which would be huge for them. Not only that, but to get a little bit of separation, because that can be huge. But if the Cats win, that separation is gone, and it's just the Cats that are up by half a game in fifth. And then, as I said, if the Cats do lose, that does pave the way for one of Adelaide or GWS to get into the finals, or to get into the top 8 at the moment temporarily, should the Cats lose. But if the Cats win, then they'll probably still get in anyway, because maybe not the Giants. If the Giants win, they probably won't get in unless they get percentage. But if Adelaide win, their percentage is good, so they will get in. So they'll get in regardless. They'll be knocking out the Dogs, and that's if they win though. And then the Suns, they've come a little bit closer. Percentage again is on the poorer side for them, but they've gotten a little bit closer in 11th. Sydney with their win, they're in 12th, and if Carlton win, which will put on a live ladder again, that will put them up into 9th. And they'll get a bit of percentage, but they currently sit in 13th, but they'll go up into 9th if they win. And then Richmond, well, again, they can have a little bit of they can look at attacking the top 8 as well, should they win. And then Freo with their loss, you probably think it's about season over for them. But anyway, though, that is huge. And we'll just have a quick little sneaky look at next round. Not that we want to go into anything too big, but Essendon Dogs Friday night, that's going to be huge. Brisbane Geelong is still going to have its ramifications. Port Adelaide Collingwood, and then Freo Sydney in the West could be almost like definitely that elimination final, really. GWS Gold Coast, Melbourne Adelaide, St Kilda North. So some big games next round as well. But anyway, that's going to wrap up today's 3-game match reviews. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please do make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you guys never miss another video on the channel. Thank you guys so much. Bye everyone. Flame Footy out.